Right, how you doing, folks? Stealth Date Room Knives. I'm just finishing up this. You'll have to excuse me, I'm a little bit throaty at the moment. Just finishing up this knife scales here. Obviously, got more to do on the grinding yet. This is remember the old Patron model? Was it the Patron or the Viceroy? The Patron. The Viceroy was a clip point. And this is the Patron 5 because the blade is sub 5 inches. This one's going to Sean Hatcher Knives. And Texas state laws, I believe, are sub 5.5 inches, so we're looking at about a 5-inch blade on this. All right, and I'm just finishing up these scales here. I thought I'd bring you along and show you a couple of tips for finishing off like G10, carbon fibre, that sort of thing on contour. Because normally I do the texturing, but contouring, obviously, it's got to be a lot more uniform because any little deviations will catch the eye. So this is what we got going on. I'm using this stuff, Abranet 120 grit. Now I've rough finished them out. Started with a 36, then went to an 80. So obviously there were 80 grit grinding marks in them, so those have got to go. And then all the contours had to be smoothed out. So yeah, got my Abranet. This is what I use for a lot of it. When I'm doing it on a wheel, basically I'm doing it on a 2-inch wheel underneath, and so it leaves sort of marks like that, like flat marks, which all need to be then blended in along like that and along the spine and all that sort of business. So I'll blend them in with rubber back steel bar and the 120 grit. Now this stuff is amazing. This Abranet is the nuts. I've had a question on Instagram, is it the same as Scotch Brite? I couldn't tell you. I don't know if it's the same as Scotch Brite, but I do know that it lasts absolutely ages. Absolutely ages. And if it does get clogged, then all you do is you flick it, or you stick it on your extraction or something like that. It just sucks all the crap out of it. Really is amazing stuff. So I use this with the rubber backing. I use this for a lot of stuff. This one I use this for hand rubbing blades. I use it for finishing the handles. It's basically my little go-to piece of kit if I'm doing any hand finishing. And then I take down the peaks. Just bring down the peaks. Every time I see a peak, I just concentrate on that for a little bit and bring it down. Now I've taken off all the peaks of these already, so I'm not going to go in there too heavy because I don't want to sort of undo what I've already done. And then of course it's all, you know, light and dusty and whatever. So, you know the little tip about wiping it down with oil just to bring the colours out. Well, what I do while I'm doing this, if I wipe it down with oil, basically it tends to clog up the Abranet, and also it's a waste of oil. You know what I mean? So I've got my squirty bottle of white spirit here. Just give it a squirt, and basically it stays on there long enough for you to get a good idea of the colours, but then it'll evaporate quick enough that you can just carry on rubbing it, and it won't clog anything up. Also, I've got, let me show you, I've got a light here, strong light here, I've just got over my shoulder, so that every now and again I can just give it a check, give it a little wipe down, a little squirt, a little wipe down, and then I check it in the light. And that will show me any deviations or any grind marks that are left to come out. I can see that it's looking pretty good on the whole. I've been on this for quite a while now, so there's not a great deal more to do. I just thought that while I was doing it, bring you along for the ride. But there are still some grind marks to get out, especially up near this butt. So let's give it a little rub. See how we get on. Now the good thing about this little bar here is because of the rubber backing, it sort of follows the contours. If I was to turn it around and do it that way, it would just score its way in and you'd end up with a flat spot. But obviously you don't want to use too much pressure, but it follows. I suppose it's about the same sort of durability as my my wheels from USA Knifemaker, which I believe is 70 Euro. So that's the sort of, you know, as a rough guide, that's the sort of the hardness of the rubber there. And of course you can do the flat portions and then just tilt it over, and you get a lot more surface area contact than you would if you were just using the steel bar. When you're doing concave radio like that, you're actually getting it with two parts at the same time. So don't use quite as much pressure, but you can still get in there and clean it up. Now obviously, now that I've rubbed over this entire handle, all that dust would have filled any imperfections and any grind marks that I'm trying to get rid of. Alright, so a little squirt, a little wipe, and it's perfect for scrutiny. Now the thing is with OD, see, that's why I brought you along while I'm doing this, because for some reason OD green G10 just shows up any imperfections more than anything else, any other colour that I've ever encountered, more than yellow, more than white, more than orange, more than black, more than blue, more than red, more than tan, blah 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 blah. For some reason OD green shows up the imperfections a great deal more than any other colour, and it ends up looking like, if you don't get them out, it looks like you've carved out Play-Doh with a spoon or something, because it really does highlight them, and it will show up anything that you can't even see, like feel with your fingers or anything like that. So I mean, I'm feeling it for general sort of symmetry and the contours, but just feeling it alone is not good enough, because as you can see, if we can get in here, see these score marks here that I've got to go. So let's give it another go. Let me see. Slightly larger piece here. Because you're using a bar, you've got to remember not to concentrate too much in one area. And there we go. And then what I do is I make sure that the contour lines from the G10 are matching up on both sides, which they are, and the pattern on the carbon fibre is matching up on both sides, which it is, and obviously, you know, the choil area here. So part of this is sort of like contoured, and then part of it, like the front area with the carbon fibre, has got the angles that I like on my blades. You know what I mean? So when I'm doing those, I'll get in there, and I'll get in there very lightly, and I'll try and follow the contour as much as possible, because what I don't want to do is end up blending this part into this and losing the crispness of that choil area there. What I have done is I've knocked off the edges here just to make it a bit more comfortable, but again with the hilt that's going to click into the Kydex, I don't want to blend them in too much either. So you've got like the contoured section on the rear, and then you've got like the, you know, the angular section on the front there, which of course has a nice little sort of contrast. But yeah, have a quick look, little dovetail there. If I do these again, I'll see if I can do a video of it, because there's obviously a nag to it. But this is the first time I've done like a double inlay, if you like, and it's actually came out perfect. But I did actually genuinely had a restless night last night, because I finished these up last night, at least finished gluing them last night, and I wanted to wait overnight for the epoxy to set, and I genuinely had a restless night last night, wondering whether these would turn out as seamless as they have. Basically I jumped out of bed this morning and just got them straight on the grinder so I could grind them back and see if they were as perfect as I need them to be. I don't know if you've seen Sean's knives, man, but dude's a master, absolute master craftsman. Now the beauty of this 120 stuff is that it doesn't really produce a lot of dust. It's more like sort of heavier stuff, so I'm not too worried about my respirator because I know none of it's flying around. I ain't got my heater on, my heater's down there. I ain't got my heater on, otherwise that'd be blowing it all in my face. But if I was using 180 grit, I'd have my respirator on, or 240 grit, I'd have my respirator on. But all of this stuff is just going straight onto that, which I'm going to vacuum off in a minute. So, still a few more little touches, but it's absolutely symmetrical. Just a few more little touches to get out. Anyway, if anybody's finishing up G10 or anything like that, I hope that helps. You know, any questions, drop them in the comments box by all means. Sweet, love this knife. Till next time, peace.